Hello everyone. Hope this time works. I think Spain is somewhere in close to Cabo Pulmo and there's not good reception there. So hopefully he's able to get that fixed. Sorry about that. Baby shark do 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 do. Okay. Let's no.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. I can see you clearly now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We tried another. We got kind of two channels. And I'm on the opposite side of the Pacific in Pescadero, but the
Yeah,
connection has
I
gone.
was telling people that where you are is hard to get connection. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is, and it's also almost raining. So
Is
maybe
it?
a little bit of clouds making it a little bit worse. We had about 3 drops of rain here, so and then it stopped. We're
Okay.
waiting for that. Okay, so yeah, here I am.
Yeah, let's get
Um,
another introduction because maybe some people couldn't hear you. So tell us about you and what you do, how long have you been doing it, and just about everything.
Yeah, I will do. So, yeah, my name is Stan. I came to Baja for 19 and a bit years ago, first time. I started joining Nautilus Explorer, which was the first boat of the fleet of Nautilus in 2004. And then I was away for a couple of years in 2006. I came back, took a little route by the Maldives and Philippines and Palau and came back. And now I'm a little bit, not full time on the Nautilus, but very much with the Nautilus, coming and going. And uh, finally, as I said a little bit before, the Nautilus family here, we've been kind of like Siberian Huskies waiting to go out and get into the water and start to work again. We need to get a little bit more exercise here. Good thing is that actually 2 days ago, me and my wife, we went out for a little road trip, went camping and did a couple of dives. So at least we know how to use a rest. That's about me. Um, uh, we are looking into uh, getting up a start. Inshallah and Alhamdulillah, God wants everything goes right. We're having our first trip to Socorro the 8th of July. And after that, that's the Belle Ami that goes off first. And after that follows Nautilus Explorer and Gallant Lady. And then it's time for heading up north to Ensenada. And we will also with the Belle Ami the 16th of July to the 24th of July do an exploratory trip from Cabo San Lucas up to Ensenada and dive it up with guests on board. Could you hear me that?
Yeah, yeah, we hear you clearly. I think everyone can hear you clearly now.
It's breaking.
No, 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 we can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Um, so a good sound now. Okay, that's good. More people are joining in. We got
yeah.
14. Um, you got any questions for me?
So far, from people, we don't have any question, but so we're hoping for everyone that yeah, the 8th of July is gonna be our first trip. So what does that depend on to be open or not?
I think I got you there. You can hear me well. I see your smiley faces.
Yeah, it cuts a little bit, but
Okay.
I
Well,
can
I
hear
go.
you.
Okay, I go babbling around. So we maybe take it in the chronological order right
Yeah,
now. 8th of July and the end of July. If we're going down to Socorro, what is going to be interesting, we're going to be quite by ourselves down there. So I think there's going to be a lot of space on the dive sites. Also very interested of getting down and uh, have a look, because that's been quite a few months now, and there's not really been any vigilance over the islands. Unfortunately, there's no park ranger who's there stationary. The Mexican Navy normally comes by once a month with a provision boat from Manzanillo to Socorro, and then later from Socorro over to the other place where they also have a little small base in Clarion Island, and that's about the only vigilance of this huge area. So at least we get some ice down there and see what's going on. July is still a kind of, in my opinion, a good time to go down. It's actually, in general, it is flatter sea at this time of the year. The only thing is that we're getting a little bit closer into the hurricane season itself.
Yeah.
The peak of the hurricane season normally we count that as September month, so we haven't seen any coming in yet, and we have an extra plan in case that we would see something coming up. We will know that 2-3 days ahead, and in worst case we can always sneak up to the Sea of Cortez if that is needed. There's more places to shelter. And also after being diving now in Sea of Cortez the second 2 days ago, it is starting to be the prime season for the Sea of Cortez. Water is warmer, water is clearer. We did just a shore dive on a secret place that I won't tell. But let's say a little bit north of Cabo Polmo, and we had an excellent shore dive. Lot of fish, clear water, massive amount of mobiles everywhere, jumping all over the water from like popcorn just from the beach. Even saw an eagle, right? So it's a good time to go down there still. Really looking forward to see Socorro and take kind of the tail end of it before we're heading up north. And as I said, we are having this long trip that we normally used to do just with the crew members. You still hearing me okay?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you okay.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure that maybe I'm talking to deaf ears anyway.
No,
But
I will
we
tell you.
did
I
last
will
year.
tell you.
Okay, you just wave and say stop.
Stop. Yeah.
For me personally, I'm even more excited for this exploratory trip because it's new areas and I like
Yeah.
exploring. Socorro, I love going down there. That's no, I mean, I don't mind doing that, but it's always nice to see new horizons. That's a little bit what I'm living for, and to bring people out and be a little bit of a pioneering. The Baja Peninsula is very long, and there's not much of infrastructure. For those who's been driving down Baja, you will understand. So there's a lot of not very much frequent dives. And I've been looking up and talking with friends, local fishermen, for the way up. We're looking for a submarine that sank for 100 years ago, not on the date, but this year in 1920. Outside of Isla Margarita. We're gonna try to find that one. There's also some interesting seamounts. There's talking with the locals up there. There's places where they see mako, blue shark. It's not the time for the striped marlin in the area, but it's a very rich area, and it's not very much explored. And that's what it is. It's an exploratory trip. Then further up, going up towards Cedros Island and San Benitos. And we see a little bit early of the year, but there's also places there in San Martin, San Jeronimo. We got last year when we went up about this time, we had also some healthy kelp beds that have been coming back. They kind of disappeared for a while because of the temperature in the water, but we saw some kelp beds. That's different kind of diving, like the ones that you do in the islands of California. And someone is asking, the mobile aggregation is in the Viajero? No, it's in Sea of Cortez. That's why you have them outside of Cabo. You have them outside where I live here in Pescadero. If I go on the beach, 700 meters away from here, I see them, and a lot in the Sierra Cortez, up from Cabo Pulmo up to Espiritu Santo and San Jose Island on the side of La Paz. Further on, talking about the exploratory trip, there's also a couple of sea mounts where we had sightings of very interesting kind of a spongy, very fishy, and also a place which I really would like to see, but there was kind of a cleaning station for mola molas. There's no promises in this kind of exploratory trip,
Yeah.
but we're going to try to do as much as we can. And I don't know all the crew members that are coming, but I know that Gordon, the captain, is going to be there, and we've done quite a lot of stuff together. And I know he's exciting as well.
So that trip would be like if we get caught, what's the plan if we get caught in a storm while going to Socorro? Will we do the exploratory, the Sea of Cortez? Is that the plan?
Yeah, it's the exploratory is on the Pacific side, going up
Okay.
for doing the relocation to Ensenada for the great white shark season. But we also have one trip going from Cabo San Lucas up to San Felipe, which is the whole Sea of Cortez. So we're having our way up towards Cabo Pulmo, Cerralbo, Bahia de Los Angeles, San Pedro Martir. There's a lot of dive sites on the way up there.
Yeah.
And well, remember right, that Gallant Lady is going to take off the 20th of July and doing that whole trip up as well. I've done it only once, and it's interesting to see that Sea of Cortez is very different from down in the south and up in the north.
Okay. What can we expect to see on July in Socorro?
Once again?
What can we expect to see in July in Socorro? What types of animals? Can you hear me?
Damn it, I had a hard
No?
time hearing it. What we can see?
What can we see on July, like for the season? What can we
Oh,
see
okay.
on July in Socorro?
It's about the same thing. You know that we have the all different kind of the seasons. It's not the time when the humpbacks are there. I've been diving year round, even in September in the month of the hurricanes. And that's based for a lot of trips. I would say like the mantas and the dolphins is about the same year round. And that's one of the main targets of coming to Socorro. And actually about the same thing about the sharks as well, especially if we're coming out towards, Roca Partida. And I think that's a good chance. As long as we don't get a hurricane coming in, it used to be very flat seas out there, down there. So in general, about the same as you would see during what we call the season to go there. Temperature is going to be, it probably hasn't warmed up so much, so I would guess the temperature in Celsius would be somewhere around 25. Okay, let's say 24 to 27 degrees.
All right.
So it's a little bit of the cold time in the Socorro. So maybe a 5 mil with a hooded vest will be okay. Or if you're like me, who built up a little bit of grease onto my body being sitting on my ass here, I'll probably go with a shorty.
Okay. We have a question from Beto. How long have you been diving in Revillagigedo?
Once again?
So we have a question from Beto. How long have you been diving in Revillagigedo?
In Revillagigedo. Since the autumn 2004. So, yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
And he also wants to know what's the most exciting thing you have seen while you're diving? So this is another question.
I didn't get...
What's the most exciting thing? What's the most exciting thing you have seen while diving?
Oh, I suppose I'm talking about Reviajedo, because I've been diving and working in quite a lot of places. Uh, I think that is a very difficult thing to say, but I mean, oh, jeez. Uh, oh, I, the I don't know. I, the thing, seeing the mantas after being, as I was away a couple of years between 2006 and or 2005, 2006. I was about 2 years I was away, and coming back to the Viajero, the friendliness of the manta or the curiosity that the mantas have in Reviajedo, that is something that is something very unique itself. You know, sometimes when you're looking down onto the bottom for something else, and they just coming and following you. When you're sitting in a situation, I've been having one of the dive sites that not many divers, even dive masters, like so much, but was fantastic before was Punta Tosca, where we had a very special, very friendly group of dolphins and mantas coming together, and you don't even know which way you're going to be looking for seeing them playing with the mantas or playing with the dolphins, or they playing with us. Uh, I really like to see the times. Not so often on tank that you can see them. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to go in water with humpbacks. I wish that would be possible. I used to work with it in the Silverbanks in Dominican Republic, but still seeing a whale underwater, seeing them, a mother and calf, and an escort, that is something very special. Uh, I, I can't recall like the most amazing dive. Uh, I sometimes the big animals have been you see them a lot, and that's when the massive big group of hammerheads they have this very special way of moving, and you really be quiet down onto the rocks and see them passing over. But at the same time, it's been happening to me that I've seen a new kind of goby that I've been taking more interest for me to look at the goby than into the hammerheads because I kind of seen them before.
Okay. We have a question from
Yeah.
Rachel. She says, can you tell us about the time you threw yourself into the washing machine?
Oh, that washing machine that you're talking about. Talking about in Roca Partida, there's happening a situation, very rare, but that also is uh, it's kind of almost looks like the two different kind of currents that is clashing to each other. And yes, I've been into it. Now it's quite a few years ago. I actually had to go in and help some people getting out of it. It took us about 400 meters until we managed to get out. Luckily, the vortex of death that I used to brief it for was taking us horizontally. Normally, it's horizontal. In case you're coming into that situation, it's not pleasant at all.
No.
Um, it's easy to say, but trying to keep your cool. It's almost like a trombe underwater. I don't know if it's a difference between a tidal and oceanic currents that happens, or the change of temperature, like what the trombs are doing, like in the desert of Sahara, or on the flats up in the States. I don't know exactly why that is happening, but it can be very strong, and you can see it if you see looking where the fish are, what the fish are doing, and bubbles are doing. You can avoid it because in general that vortex is not the ones that I experienced not very wide. We're talking about maybe just like 2 or 3 meters, and outside of that, it's cool. Not pleasant, but that's another reason to go slow and keep your eyes around. A
Yeah,
lot
for
of
sure.
times, I think we are a little bit too much impatient and and uh, take our time to look around and not putting ourselves into problems as much. Look at bubbles, currents, if it switches, fish is swimming upwards the
Mm.
rock, then well down is a down current. If it swims down, it's a down current. And if you see puffer fish going around circles. That pufferfish is in that vortex in that case.
So when the current is taking you down, because I feel like I have experienced something like that in Roca Partida, and it's the current taking you down really, really strong. The only thing
Mm.
to do is swim horizontal. Is that the recommendation you would tell us? Swim horizontal to get like past that current or avoid it from the first time. But
Uh,
if you get caught in that current that is taking you down, what is like what do you do?
uh, yeah, as we always used to say, as like a rule in diving is uh, stop, breathe, and breathe again, and think and then act. And that's not so easy to. It's easier to say it than when you're in there. In our situation, what happened was that I got the divers holding hands, and we went inflating our BCDs, and then like in a chain, I managed to sort of get out of that circle and swim out of it, and we got popped up to the surface. It's hard to see because sometimes you have bubbles in front of your mask and so, but keeping track on your computer, keep your hand on your inflator, um, and inflate, and then be prepared to deflate when you're getting out of it. Uh, that's a little bit what I would say that my recommendation is. As I said, it's much easier to say it in theory than when you come into it. But panic is always one of
Yeah.
they are enemies to ourselves when we're diving. And a lot of the solution to that is listening to the briefings. Prepare yourself before you come out to dive, especially Riviera. We have the opportunity to do that from dive centers in Cabo, and go slow. You don't need to go fast if you want to see animals. You find your sweet spots or your hot spots, as I say, and then you can hang around there.
Yeah, sometimes it's waiting. It's
That's
better just stay there and wait for the action instead of chasing something, right?
yeah.
Yeah. We have a question from Ana Paula. Which is your favorite place to dive?
Once.
Which is your favorite place to dive?
uh, many.
Many.
Many places. I think for me, for my work and the variation, I like going now for the exploratory trip. That is one of my favorites. I love the kelp. I love the kelp up in British Columbia and Canada. I love diving Malpelo, which is very close to my heart. And of course, Revillagigedo. As well, I wouldn't mind to go and do some wreck diving in the Baltic Sea of Sweden, though we got about 2 feet of visibility there.
Cool.
Um, uh, I like to be in places where there's not too many people around. I'm not so social, especially not underwater. Uh, and that is, where you can still feel a little
Yeah.
bit of being far off, um, finding new places where you see things. And it's like a puzzle in your life and your career in diving to take a little bit of a new knowledge from new places.
Yeah, of
But
course.
yeah, these are some of my favorite places.
Yeah. Um,
Someone asked if I was going to be on the trip the 8th, and yes, I seems like I'm going to be on the trip the 8th this tomorrow.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna ask you something and then I kind of forgot. Something about the trip of eight. So the people that would go on this trip on the 8th of July, you say there's not gonna be more boats around? It's only the Nautilus boats that are gonna be on Socorro on the 8th of July?
That there's more boats now than before.
There's not gonna be any boats on the trip of the 8th of July.
Trying to
No?
interpret what you say. It's unfortunately, I hear you.
I'm saying
Tricky.
like I think you mentioned it before. On the trip of the 8th of July, it's only the Nautilus boats that are going out, or is there other companies
As
that
uh, yeah, I'm not sure about the others. I think I can't say, but I kind of have a feeling that there's not that many that are going down there at this time right now.
are? Yeah.
But that I can't say is a promise. We got 3 of our boats going down, at least doing one trip before we start the Guadalupe season. This is a bit late. We normally used to be kind of starting to head up towards Guadalupe at this time. So, and we used to be kind of the last boats down there. So I think there will be less diving boats down there. Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think after these 3 months of just leaving Socorro alone and no boats and no people around? Do you think it's gonna look better? Do you think maybe it's affected by us not being there and there might be fishing? What do you think you're gonna be there and what you're gonna see? More fishes, less fishes? Like, what are your expectations?
That was in Socorro. I heard about Socorro, what to see, and
Like, what are your expectations? Like, after 3 months of no one diving on Socorro on these times, what are your expectations of going and seeing there? Like,
my expectations to see in Socorro about the same life that we used to see. The mantas and the dolphins probably most of the target, but also definitely the sharks, especially I would say down up in Roca Partida, but we also seen the sharks if we haven't got them fished up. That's what worries me, especially around in San Benedicto, around the boiler and the canyon. I definitely been seeing more sharks. I've seen from my years been diving there, I've seen it being quite a lot to declining quite a bit. We had some years with really heavy fishing, and I've seen it been coming back. And that's also another thing I would like to say about that there's more diving boats right now, and of course we want to have the place by ourselves. But the divers and the diving boats that has been there present has also been pushing out a lot of the illegal fishing. They've been the best protectors of the islands of Revillagigedo.
yeah, of course. So you think now that we go, like now that we are not there, there might be a lot of illegal fishing.
I hope it's not. I'm always worried about the time when all the dive boats, except of now and then, will go down privately during the hurricane season. It means that I'm always worried about July, August, September, and part of October when there's no diving boats there, because then there's more or less nobody
Yeah.
keeping an eye what's going on there.
So the organization taking
It's
care of these regulations to be placed and taking care there's not illegal fishing is the CONAMP, right?
once again.
So the
So,
the organization, sorry, the organization taking care of not illegal fishing and just taking care of the area is the CONAMP.
CONAP is there. I mean, CONAP is, and right now there's a new generation of CONAP, younger guys, a lot of very keen, but has a big heart, and unfortunately, been hearing that they want to cut down some of the personnel, but they don't have the infrastructure to provide. You need to be out there. I mean, and there needs to be boats in the area, and CONAP is doing. The guys who are working for CONAP, they're doing as much as they can, but they need our
Support.
boats.
Yeah.
It's over 10 years since the Navy had a fast interceptor boat. Then at that time, I think it's more than 10 years ago, we could call over the Navy, and the Navy's always been very cooperative in helping out, not only for illegal fishing, also for emergency for both us crew and guests. But they only have if the frigate is coming from Manzanillo about every once a month, they only have a panga, and they can't come if we call and say we got a legal fishing boat in San Benedicto or Socorro or Roca Partida. They can't come, and that's the situation. There's no money for the CONAP to unfortunately to have that infrastructure. They don't have the boats.
Yeah. Well, that's sad. Um,
Yeah, that's what I said. The biggest heroes in wildlife wildlife conservation in the Viajero, that's the presence of the divers. So that's like big kudos to all the divers coming over.
Yeah.
Because Socorro was, when I started, we were only 2 boats at the time. And we saw about illegal fishing boats
Wow.
almost every trip, every second. I see much less now because there are more boats out there. And also kudos to these guys on Conap because now, as I say, they're new guys. It's a government thing, but these guys that I've seen up in La Paz in the offices, they're kind of a new breed and generation and very conservative minded. But that also has to be coming hand in hand with the local people here in Baja California that that they can also continue to do what is the real ecotourism. If there's no money into it, there's no
Yeah.
reason to protect it. And
Yeah.
especially for the local people here, they are suffering right now because what's been happening with the virus. It's quite a bad situation right now.
Yeah, I think it's bad situation for humans and for the environment. Everything, this virus is affecting both humans and animals in some places in a good way, and in some places like Socorro is it's not great that we are not actually there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely in that kind of way, the protection. And I also see when talking with the locals, a lot of the local and the fishing cooperatives, there's a lot of young people who wants to do ecotourism as well. And there's a huge knowledge in these with generations about these areas. When I came here, these were the ones that I went to. These were the guys who were my mentors, how to learn about this area, and are still my mentors. I just got 19 years here. What about people who've been having 4 generations of fishermen? They really know their shit.
Yeah, it's not
Uh,
against
uh,
it's not against the
no
fishing.
offense to the marine biologists, but
Yeah. It's not against
I
the fishermen, it's against the legal part, right? Like fishermen, if everything were according to the regulations and everyone do it how it's supposed and not fish in the areas that are not supposed to be fishing, then fishing could still go on and just keep going for years and years. But by doing illegal fishing, then we are they are themselves they're getting like fishing is gonna stop in some years because there's not gonna be anything to fish. But if everyone respected how it's supposed to be and only legal fishing was been doing, then we wouldn't have these problems. Like it's not about the fishermen, like the fishermen are just working people, but it's about the legal part of the job that is what we are against.
yeah. No, I think that's I caught some of what you were saying, but I think I
Just say
agree.
yes, yes, yes.
I get
Okay,
most of it. And
we have a
how much time?
question. We have let's do two more
Sorry.
questions. Let's do two more questions.
Oh,
We have a question. What are the biggest difference you have seen in, what are the biggest difference you have seen in nature since you start diving?
the difference that I have seen. Uh, hang on there. The- of my years of diving, was that the thing?
Yeah, kind of like what have you seen since you start diving until now? Like what are the biggest difference?
Well, it depends on where you're going, but for example, I could feel, or I would say, like where I started was diving outside from Espiritu Santo when I came here in 2001, and a lot of that Espiritu Santo was an island uh, that got protected by an NGO, a lot with the help of Tim Means from Baja Expedition, who unfortunately passed away last year. Um, to protect that area, and I can see the fish life's been coming back years since I started in 2001. Um, as I said in Socorro, we saw, like when we went over to the canyon in the beginning, we had silkies around on the surface. We had big Galapagos sharks down on the canyon, um, pretty good sizes of silver tips. And then after a couple of years, there was heavy netting out there. It was us, Nautilus Explorer, together with Solmer. At that time, we were cutting up kilometers of net. They do more of netting there than long line fishing. And that took a really big hit onto the population. And then I actually been seeing it coming back. I see more nowadays. We're back seeing the silkies on the surface in the canyon. Um, so I mean, if it's something like that, that a boat or two is coming out there and kind of wiping the area, it's going to take a tough toll onto the population, especially the sharks, but also the mantas are swimming in. We also had mantas we were cutting out from there, and dolphins. So I believe in that thing of the protection with, but if, you know, just putting up a name saying this is a national park, it's protected area, doesn't mean fuck all if there's no one looking after it.
Of course.
And that's, you know, the VHL is the biggest, whatever, marine sanctuary on this hemisphere. Yeah, that's in words, but what is the reality?
Yeah,
And then
totally.
they're supposed to be that, you know, boats are having a that you can always track fishing boats when they're where they are all the time. But the reality, and I've seen it many times, not only in Socorro but also in Cocos and Malpelo, they switch them off when they go into the area,
Yeah.
so nobody knows where they are.
Mm.
Um,
That's
but I believe in these protected areas. Cabo Pulmo is an excellent like example about how diversity and the population of fish and species of fish has been coming up. Um, so it's up and down, and it depends a little bit where you've been diving.
yeah. So actually, our next question is about Cabo Pulmo. So he asked, what is Cabo Pulmo so special? What makes Cabo Pulmo so special? What makes
In
Cabo,
Cabo Pulmo,
yeah, what's so special about it?
okay,
What's
Station Cabo Pulmo.
what's so special? Someone asked, what's so special about Cabo Pulmo?
What's so special about Cabo Pulmo? It is, well, because of the reason it's been, well, you know, it's the biggest coral reef in the Seal Cortez, they say. It's not much of a coral reef if you've been like in Asia or in the Caribbean, but it's probably a lot of animals. Because the reason it's being protected, a lot by the locals in the area there. It has, you know, the now, you know, for the sharkies, especially, that's a good place where you have a very good chance to see the bull sharks, right? The big school of jacks, big groupers that, you know, have been having the time to age themselves and get bigger. It's fishy. Uh, and I compare this when I worked time as well in the Caribbean. I'd be embarrassed to say I did my dive master in Utila. And a long time ago. Hopefully it's better than it was then. But I did that. I dove outside of Nicaragua, but I was doing a documentary about the Mosquito Indians doing lobsters. I dove Leeward and Wildwood Islands, and I've you know, found coming over to like Seal Cortez being very, very rich compared with these areas. I don't like to compete one side for another, but it's it is very neutral, maybe not having the clearest water like in the Caribbeans, um, but very, very, very rich, especially if you protect it.
Yeah.
You have some of these no-take stones.
Yeah. Well, guys,
Mm.
if you come to Socorro, you should do, if you're able to have a few more days than a week, come and do Cabo Pulmo and do the local diving because the whole package is like if you have the time and you're already like flying from really far away, do a little bit more than just Socorro and do Cabo Pulmo local diving. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, you know, I mean, especially now, right now, going down to Socorro, if you ever go down, I would definitely, if I have the time, especially, you know, if you come far away from, you know, especially from Europe. It's a long and pretty expensive to come over here to take and explore Baja. As you said, now it's good seasons. Go to Cabo Pulmo, go out up in towards La Paz. It's the time of the high season for the Sea Cortez right now. I would say the Sea Cortez season would sit in between like June to mid-November, end of November. That's kind of the best time was diving here in the Sea
Yeah.
Cortez. So and rent a car or a 4x4 and go and explore like what we do when we have our time when we finally were allowed to get out. It didn't take us long to go out and do some camping and also doing some shore snorkeling and diving.
Well, that's social distancing. You can
Yeah.
do camping and social distancing.
Well, once again.
That you can do camping and social distancing. No?
Oh,
Should
it's
we
been a
wrap it up?
terrible.
Yeah. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. What would I say? Just like what we're saying, there's another thing that we might be talking about. The Guadalupe season is coming up, and there's something new we're having now. Before we used to go up with a big coach and pick people up, and now we're doing it with smaller vans, and that's going to be much smoother, especially when you're going northbound. Uh, then you be in a van. There's a schedule for it, but that takes you over the border, and we have a hospitality suite just outside of where our boats are. And on the way up, down, you don't need to take yourself and walk through the borders, go through the migration as we did before getting over into the United States, because then the bus was quite far to walk up and hump your bags. Now there will be a line, but you will be sitting in your car and going back up, and I think that was a great plan. Also, I'm excited to see a lot of the Nautilus family, and I think that people here, we have a little WhatsApp group, and everybody's going chatting on that, and we are very, very eager to get out and also see each other and see the divers. And honestly, we need to get some work going. Um,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a tough time for tourism right now. So I hope this is kind of leveling out and see you out there in the ocean. I'm waiting for you. I'll be on the 8th to 16th Socorro trip, and then the 16th to 24th to explore trip the Pacific Ocean up. That's what I have to say.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
that's
Hopefully next time we can hear each other better. And thank you everyone,
will do.
and see you guys next Saturday.
See you next time, and sorry for all that bad. And on top of that, I'm half deaf, but I
I
hope
saw
I could
more
answer
of
some
your
questions.
I saw more of your ear the whole interview than your face. Okay.
Okay. Well,
Bye
you take
bye.
care and see you
You
out there
too.
and
Bye.
listen. Okay. Damn it.